This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Rabbi, so good morning. We have a very interesting sugya this morning. On Tisha B'Av, so in the morning you don't wear talis and tefillin. So the next day, you put on talis and tefillin again, and you think a little bit about what you're doing, because you didn't do it in the morning the day before, you did in the afternoon.
Well, what about the afternoon?
And we know that the Torah tells us, and this is what we do, after you wrap yourself in tzitzis, you put on tefillin. In other words, the Torah is telling us that's the order. First the talis, and then the tefillin. And the question is, why? Why in that order? Why in that order? So what would you say? Why first talis and then tefillin?
Malim b'kodesh.
Malim b'kodesh. V'yein maridin. Why? What's the aliyah in kedusha? Because talis is only what? Tashmishe mitzvah, and tefillin is tashmishe kedusha. What does that mean? Talis is not associated with the Parshas of the Torah. Tefillin are associated with the Parsha of the Torah. Malim b'kodesh v'yein maridin. However, it's interesting to note that Beis Yosef does not bring...
What's the Yosef have tzitzis on Big Day?
Let me ask you a question. When you're done with your Lulav and Esrog, what do you do with it?
I put it away for tomorrow.
What are you allowed to do with it?
Everything.
Throw it in the garbage.
Right.
That's halacha. It's only a hiddur to save it. What do you do with the talis when you're done with it? Me'ikar hadin, you could throw it out. Me'ikar hadin.
Right, yeah.
And tefillin needs geniza. Why? Because tefillin is tashmishe kedusha. But if lulav has no kedusha, tzitzis has no kedusha. That's while it's designated for the mitzvah, you can't use it for other purposes. Yeah.
What about Tadir V'Shein and Tadir Kaidem?
Oh, so you want to say another reason to put talis first? Tadir V'Shein and Tadir Kaidem, which is what? You put on tzitzis is
You don't put tefillin on.
also. Yeah.
No, it's not Tadir. Tefillin is mechiya the whole day. The Chachamim or Misakin,
You do it more often.
you shouldn't wear it. Why?
You do tzitzis on Shabbos and Yom Tov, you don't do tefillin.
But on the other hand, you can make the case that tefillin is 24 hours a day. The only reason we don't wear tefillin at night is Gezero Shema Yafiach. We're afraid you're going to fall asleep and fluctuate. But right, Shema Yafiach. But tzitzis is only during the day. So you can make the case tefillin is much more common than tzitzis. Tefillin is 24 hours a day. Talis is only 12 hours a day.
Also, you're putting on a talis kut in the morning, so with the talis gudel, you'll make the bracha, the yoitza, the talis kut also.
So why is that a reason?
An extension for.
You want to juxtapose it to the putting on the tzitzis.
Yeah.
Okay, so
What about another idea? That tzitzis represents 613 minutes. Tefillin is more limited in its scope, at least I think it is.
Okay, good.
There's a remez for, tzitzis, the gematria 613 strings on the knots. So you're supposed to think that tzitzis represents kula.
Okay, so Beis Yosef says two reasons why talis goes before tefillin. Number one, he says like this: after you put on tzitzis, yaniach tefillin miyad. You should put tefillin on immediately. Mitoich divrei Rabbeinu nira, says the Beis Yosef, from the words of the Torah, it appears. Shebetchila mesatif tzitzis. First you put on tzitzis. V'achakach maniach tefillin.
I don't think I have the right page.
Because you took the wrong page. V'achakach maniach tefillin, and then you put on.
You gave us the wrong.
No. Only you.
Only you got it on one. You're special.
Okay. Then you put on tefillin. From the Torah, it's mashma. This is davka. First talis, and then tefillin. V'chein kasav. The Nemukei Yosef. This is what the Nemukei Yosef writes. The hilchas tzitzis. The mitzvahs tzitzis. Shkula keneged kol ha-mitzvahs. Ra'oi lahaktim. That since tzitzis is equal to all the mitzvahs in the Torah, it is fitting that tzitzis should come before tefillin. Why? Because tzitzis has a chashivos. The chashivos of tzitzis is numerical value 600 plus the 5 knots and the 8 strings 613. Tzitzis has a mila over tefillin. Tzitzis comes first. That is the first reason of the Beis Yosef. The oid. And another reason. The second reason is shehi tadira yoiser. Tzitzis is more Kamen shenoyeges bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos. Tzitzis is noyeg sai during the week, sai on Shabbos and Yom Tov. V'tader v'sheinoi tader kaidem. Now, Rabbi said the Shagasari has a question on this, that you can make the case tefillin is more tader, because tefillin midairaisa 24 hours a day, and tzitzis is only re'isa ma'isa b'yom v'loy b'layla. But nevertheless, these are the two reasons of the Beis Yosef. Nowhere does the Beis Yosef say that first you put on talis and then you put on tefillin, because of malin, b'kodesh, b'ein moirid.
Talking about Beis Yosef, they do put on Tisha B'Av in the morning, the Beis Yosef.
No.
Tefillin. Yeah, the Beis Yosef.
What, the
Svardim do?
No.
No, I mean,
The Shulchan Aruch says not to. Shulchan Aruch says not to wear tefillin in the morning.
I have a guy in my shul, and
They're not following the Shulchan Aruch.
he says he's...
They think they're following Beis Yosef. Beis Yosef doesn't say that. Beis Yosef says you put tefillin on in the afternoon. The reason why Sfardim put on in the morning is because it's Minhag Yerushalayim.
Oh, you're trying to do?
Sfardim do. Sfardim and Yerushalayim, they put on tefillin in the morning against the Beis Yosef. And even Rabbi Vari Yosef, who always follows the Beis Yosef, the Yalkut Yosef says in this instance you follow Minhag Yerushalayim for Sfardim. Okay.
Can I coordinate it?
You can look it up in Shulchan Aruch.
Okay.
Yeah.
are you going to get into the brachos? Why you make our mitzvahs?
No. Okay. So those are the two reasons of the Beis Yosef. Reason number one is tzitzis shako keneged kol mitzvahs. Reason number two, tader v'she'eno tader kad. So we would expect that the Mechaber and the Shulchan Aruch, since he is the author of the Beis Yosef, we would expect him to bring down at least one of these two reasons as to why tzitzis comes before tefillin. Or maybe he won't bring down any reason. But for him to bring down a completely third reason would be quite strange. And in fact, he does. And the Mechaber and Siman Chafei, Shulchan Aruch says, Achar shelabash talis netzuyatz. After you put on a talis with tzitzis on it, it's not enough to wear talis. The talis has some tzitzis. Yaniach tefillin, why? Shemalin b'kodesh. Malin b'kodesh. You have to go up in kedusha. He doesn't say tzitzis shako keneged kol mitzvahs. He doesn't say tader shenu tader kodim. He brings in a third reason.
Why is the asterisk there?
Because that means there's a beer halach on it.
Oh, so what does the beer halacha say?
We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Fine.
Oh.
Okay. Now the question is, Rabbi say, fine. The Shulchan Aruch brings a third reason that he doesn't bring in the Beis Yosef. But here's the question. The concept of Malin b'kodesh ve'ein moridin is just not true. It's not true. Because it's up against Beferish Mishnah and Hariyos. It's also Mishnah and Zvachim. It says like this: Kol hatader mechaveroi, koydem eschaver. Whatever is more frequent comes first. B'chol hamakudosh mechaveroi, and whatever is holier than its friend, koydem eschaveroi, takes precedence.
I have one more comment.
Yeah.
Tzitzis is only a chiyuv if you have arba kanfas. There is no chiyuv to wear tzitzis at all.
Oh, it's a rishus, you mean?
Yeah, it's a rishus. It's a mitzvah.
Oh, it's a chiyuv if you wear a bag with four corners. There's no chiyuv to wear four corners.
There is a chiyuv for everybody.
So you think that should be a reason to put tefillin on before?
Yeah.
Now like what we do, right? Okay. By the way,
Is there something about when you put on the tzitzis,
one second.
Is prepared for the tefillin, that without the tzitzis, after maybe the guf, I'm not about the neshama, you already said moda'ani, that you have to have the guf prepared in the right way to accept tefillin, because tefillin is a davar yosef b'kedusha, right? Then compared to tzitzis, but you have to be in the right perspective, and there are some people who will.
So go to the mikvah. What do you have to do?
Well, some people do. I don't know.
Well, let's see. So the question is like this: if you have a choice between two mitzvahs, A and B, Reuven and Shimon, which mitzvah do you do first? So the Shulchan Aruch is saying, do the lesser mitzvah first, because you want to go up in Kedusha Malam B'Kodesh Ve'en Maridin. The Mishnah says, no, you do the Mekudash first, because it has more Kedusha. The Mishnah says you go down. So our question is, you go into the elevator and the first question you ask is, going up or going down? The Shulchan Aruch says you put on tzitzis and then tefillin. Why? Going up. But the Mishnah says when it comes to two items, you go down. Fine. So basically, the Noida Yehuda, in his comments on Shulchan Aruch, asks on the Shulchan Aruch that what in the world is Shulchan Aruch talking about? That you put on talis and then tefillin because of Malan b'kodesh. It's against the Mishnah that says Kol ha'mekudash es chaveroi, koidem es chaveroi. So I would ask on the Noida Yehuda that what's he picking on the Shulchan Aruch for? Malan b'kodesh is a well-known concept. When he's challenging the whole concept of Malan b'kodesh in Maridin, I mean, then it comes out that first Noida Yehuda, get it straight. When do you say Malan b'kodesh in Maridin? And get it straight when you say but don't challenge the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch is not invoking some made-up rule of Malan b'kodesh and Maridin. There's a well-known rule of Malan b'kodesh. Let's see the question first of the...
Also, by the way, talis could be a chona for the mitzvah.
Well, how is it a chana?
Because before you do daven, you wash your hands, you get yourself ready.
You have to be dressed.
Some people say put on
I hope you're wearing something other than your talis.
No, but maybe you're not ready to do tefillin unless you have on tzitzis. That's just I said before. It's a preparation for putting on the tefillin, and until you reach that level, you shouldn't put on the tefillin.
In other words,
what did you do for the first?
Because
before you got married, how did you prepare yourself?
I don't understand the question.
You don't wear a talis? Obviously, a talis is not.
Talis cotton.
So then, what do you? No.
And you made a bracha on the
You made a bracha.
tzitzis.
Let's see. No. Let's see. Says the Dagam Ravava. Says the Nadida. Mashmois hadvarim. The mashmois to the mechaber is lefishat tefillin yesh bahem kedusha yoiser mitzitzis. Tefillin has more kedusha. Lekach makdim atzitzis. That's why you make the tzitzis go first. Lefish amalan b'kodesh, because you go up in kedusha. Behadavar tamua. What is the man saying? It's a pliya, the Shulchan Aruch. The Adarabba. If tefillin has more kedusha, tefillin should go first. Mishum kedushasai hayalak dimai. Because of the kedusha of tefillin, you should make it first. O Mishnah meforashes beparak hatadir. Kol ha'mekudash mechaverei koidem es chaverei. So what in the world is the Shulchan Aruch saying that tzitzis goes first because malim b'kodesh? Pink farkat, just the opposite. Right, Rav Zelig? See? And now I understand why the Beis Yosef doesn't bring down the reason of Malam B'Kodesh Maridin. Because it doesn't make any sense. V'aval the Beis Yosef mevoratam shetzitzis koidem. Why? Mishum the tzitzis adif. Because tzitzis is better. Sheshkula keneged kol ha-mitzvos. Ay mishum the tadir. And that is what Beis Yosef doesn't bring in the reason of Malam B'Kodesh. But in the Shulchan Aruch, where he brings in the reason of Malam B'Kodesh Maridin, it's a pliya. We don't apply the rule of Malam B'Kodesh Maridin. Instead, we should apply the rule Kol ha'mekudash mechaveroi koidem es chaveroi.
Override.
So you'll ask, so what? We're going to take Malam B'Kodesh and throw it in the garbage?
No,
you use it when there's the same.
When would we ever say Malam
When
B'Kodesh?
there's the same level kedusha,
there's no other.
you go Malam B'Kodesh.
If there's the same level kedusha, then there's nowhere to go up.
Where are you going to go up?
Because here there are.
What? In other words, the Dagam Meravava is asking on the Shulchan Aruch, don't say Malam B'Kodesh. What do you mean don't say Malam B'Kodesh? Isn't Malam B'Kodesh a rule in Shas? For example, on Chanukah, do you light 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 like Beis Shammai? Or do you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like Beis Hillel because of Malam B'Kodesh Beis Maridin? What do you do? Malam B'Kodesh, right? Look at the Gemara Shabbos. V'chad Omar time.
Matzah Shabbos. You do Havdalah first or Hanukkah?
Matzah Shabbos.
That's where you are.
That's a very personal question. Do I do Havdalah first or Hanukkah first? I do Havdalah first.
Right.
Or
Some people
At home.
Some people might do Hanukkah first. Because
To be ma'acher.
So you say this Malam B'Kodesh has its places.
Rabbi say, when do we say Malam B'Kodesh? The Noda Yehuda is saying take Malam B'Kodesh and toss it. So when would Malam B'Kodesh apply? If he's asking on the Shulchan Aruch, what do you like? Why would it apply?
Malam b'kodesh.
So why would it apply by Chanukah Lecht? And the Rebbe Yehuda is saying it shouldn't apply by Talis and Tefillin.
Because by Chanukah Lech, there's no more Kedusha one Lech from another.
8 has more Kedusha than 7. No? Go up.
No, when each one is counted individually. Each Lechtel is, you don't send 8 at one shot.
I have
If
a
you would send 8 at one shot.
Is it a nicer mitzvah to light 8 or a nicer mitzvah to light 7? Which mitzvah has more Kedusha?
No, the
8 or
shaila
7?
is, should you start from 8, 7, 6,
No, that's not the shaila. The shaila is not whether you go right to left or left to right. The shaila is, do you light 1 the first night, 2 the second night, 3 the third night, or 8 the first night? Fine. It doesn't matter what.
That's all you need.
So you want to say by Mahadrin, then you go Malin? But at the end of the day, look at the Gemara says, why does Beis Hillel say you light 1, then 2, then 3? Because 2 has more Kedusha than 1, 3 has more than 2, so you have to go up. So if you go up in Kedusha, if when you have a choice of when should I do the greater mitzvah, now or later, we say later. Don't do the 2 the first night. Wait, do it the second night. Push it off. So if the Rabbi Yehuda is asking on the Shulchan Aruch that you should first put on tefillin and then talis because whatever has more kedusha goes first, then he's passing like Beis Shammai, because Beis Shammai says 8, 7, 6. And what's the idea of Yehuda's problem? When would you, according to what he's asking, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that he wants to invoke the rule of Kol HaMekudesh Mechaver Kodesh Chaver, then you'd be tossing Malin B'Kodesh. Says the Shagas Aryeh, no, you wouldn't. There's a major distinction. You could drive a truck through the distinction. You could drive not a regular truck.
A trailer.
A trailer with 2 trailers together connected. They could fit through the split. Says the Shagas
A
Aryeh.
16-wheeler.
18.
After. Says the Shagas Aryeh. That when do you say Malin B'Kodesh Ve'emaridin? You have a tefillah shel yad. You have a tefillin. Are you allowed to transfer? You allowed to convert a tefillah shel yad into a tefillah shel rosh?
No.
Yes, you can. You're allowed to make a tefillin shel yad into a tefillin shel rosh? Yes. Why? Going up. You're allowed to go up in kedusha. Tefillin shel rosh has more kedusha, more parsha. It's fine. Are you allowed to make tefillin shel rosh, tefillin shel yad?
No.
Can't go down. Malin B'Kodesh Ve'emaridin. Why do we invoke over there Malin B'Kodesh Ve'emaridin? Because it's one mitzvah. You have one item. You have one tefillah. This one tefillah, you could elevate it and make it a greater mitzvah. You could make it tefillin shel rosh, but the tefillin shel rosh you can downgrade it and make it tefillin shel yad. Within one mitzvah, says the Shagas Aryeh, you could go up and you can't go down. Or likewise by menorah. The lighting of the menorah is not a choice of 2 different mitzvahs. It's one mitzvah. Mitzvahs hadlakas ner Chanukah. We want to know how to establish that one mitzvah. We establish it going up. But when it comes to a choice between 2 mitzvahs, for example, you have a chatas, which is Kodesh Kodashim, and you have another carbon, which is Kachim Kalim, and you want to know which carbon to bring first. What do? We don't say going up. We say whichever one is holier comes first. Says the Shagas Aryeh, I will tell you.
Why by menorah I don't say this?
When you're dealing within one mitzvah, the mitzvah of Hadlakas Ner Chanukah, which is
the whole 8
mitzvah,
days is one mitzvah?
it's the same mitzvah. The mitzvah every night is Hadlakas Ner Chanukah. You want to know how should I do this one mitzvah? Then I say Malin B'Kodesh Ve'emaridin. But when you have a choice between 2 mitzvahs, you do the holier one first.
Mekudesh Yosef.
Mekudesh Yosef.
Tefillin is one mitzvah or 2 mitzvahs?
Tefillin itself?
Because you have we just said...
Tefillin is 2 mitzvahs. Yeah, tefillin is 2
Then why don't
mitzvahs.
we put on the rosh first?
Because the Torah says not to.
Why is it 2 mitzvahs?
Tefillin shel rosh, tefillin shel yad, the 2 mitzvahs. You do one without the other.
It consists of 2, but it's one mitzvah.
Okay.
Why would the Torah tell us differently?
Okay, I'm not getting into that now. That's what the Torah says. That's what the Torah says. But, the question is, talis and tefillin is definitely 2 mitzvahs. So which rule should we invoke in that case? Should we invoke Malin B'Kodesh Ve'emaridin, or should we invoke Kol HaMekudesh Mechaveroi, Koydem Es Chaveroi? What would you say?
Rosh.
What? Kol HaMekudesh. Two different mitzvahs. That's why the Noda Yehuda is bombing out the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says first you put on tefillah, first you put on talis, and then you put on tefillin. Why? The Shulchan Aruch says because of Malan b'kodesh ve'ein moiridin. Ask the Noda Yehuda, what are you talking about? Wrong rule. You got the wrong rule. Talis and tefillin are two separate mitzvahs. So if they're two separate mitzvahs, first put on the tefillin, and then put on the talis.
But by the tefillin, I'm sorry, it says in the Torah,
I'm not talking about mitzvah tefillin, I'm talking about talis as opposed to tefillin, right?
No, but before you were saying that.
Yeah, so you wanted to know why you put on the tefillin shel yad first. I said because Torah says so.
Because the Torah says so, yeah.
But it flies in the face of the principle. I mean, I understand what the Torah says, but why would the Torah take this principle that we've just been spending a lot of time talking about, saying here it doesn't apply?
Okay, that's what Torah says. Okay, so says the Shagas Aryeh, "V'nafsel inyanenu." According to what I said, Mechuyev lahakdim mitzvah tefillin l'tzitzis. You would have to put on tefillin before tzitzis. Umishum the tefillin havlei mekudash. Ubishulchan Aruch Arachayim Siman Chav Hey Kasav. La'achar shalav ashtalis mitzuyot yaniach tefillin. Should put on tefillin shamalin b'kodesh. Says the Shagas Aryeh, "Ve'ein elo divrei tema." The words of Shulchan Aruch are mamish incomprehensible. Malin b'kodesh, klap elai. You know what klap elai means? Klap elai. Which way are you going? Adarabah, just the opposite. Tefillin mishum kedushasan roi lahakdim al tzitzis. Tefillin, because of its kedusha, you should make it go first. So kedatznan kol ha'mekodesh mechaver kadem eschaver. What are you going to do with Malin b'kodesh? You're just going to toss the klal of Malin b'kodesh? Ein inyan Malin b'kodesh l'kan. Malin b'kodesh has nothing to do with this. Tizem ma'risha Malin b'kedusha kal kedusha chamura mimena. Malin b'kodesh is within one thing. You could go up in kedusha. You can't go down. For example, like the Gemara Menachos, the tefillah shel yad, oismas shel rosh, mishum mal mekodesh. The shel rosh kedusha sechamur mishel yad, v'shel rosh ein oismas shel yad, mishum de'en maridin. Aval b'shnei dvarim, but in two mitzvahs, kol ha'mekudesh mechaveroi kaidem lai. In two mitzvahs, whatever has more kedusha comes first. But kol shekain mekudash. If when it comes to two mitzvahs, which mitzvah do you do first? The one that has more kedusha. Says the Shagas Aryeh, when it comes to two things, that one has kedusha and the other one has no kedusha, tzitzis doesn't have any kedusha to it. Tzitzis has no kedusha. It's a dvar mitzchetza shel mitzvah. The kosher mekudash ve'eino mekudash. Come at tzitzis etzon the mekudash kaidem. So this is a tremendous mystery. What's the Shulchan Aruch talking about when the Shulchan Aruch says that first you put on talis and then you put on tefillin because of malin, because he's got the wrong rule? You want to say because tzitzis is shakol keneged kol mitzvahs gesundheit. You want to say because of tadav shena kol tader gesundheit. But you want to say because of malin, because ve'ein maridin. What's this talking about? The Bir Halacha quotes from the Bir Hagra, who says three very short lines that are almost inexplicable. Malin b'kodesh, al ha'adam kai. It's going on the person. Shetzarach leilech midarga ledarga. A person has to go from one level to the next. Uhules alois b'kedusha, and go up in kedusha. Ki metchilahu rak mechases atzman b'kisa shel mitzvah. At first, he merely covers himself with the covering of a mitzvah. Ba'yidei tefillin, and through tefillin, hu mekasher es atzmai, he ties himself b'kesher hayichud b'hakadusha, with the knot of unification and holiness. And the question is, what in the world is the man trying to do? Says the Chafetz Chaim. You know what he's trying to do? This is from the Eliyarava Hagra. And what they're trying to do is, v'kivnu bazeh, their intention is, l'taretz kushas ha-Shagas Aryeh, they're trying to answer the Shagas Aryeh's question, the Hadagim Ravav and the Hadagim Ravava's question. And the question is, how are they answering the question? They're just making it worse. They're making it worse. They're saying, first you cover yourself with the covering of mitzvah, and then you tie yourself with the tying of kedusha, Shkoyach. So then exactly, you should do the tefillin first, because the tefillin is kedusha, and the mitzvah, and the talis is only chetza shel mitzvah.
Right.
They're not answering the question, they're making the question worse.
Sounds like a chona.
What's he talking about? Hachana? How do talis prepare you to wear tefillin? If anything, talis gets in the way of the tefillin. It's much easier to put on tefillin before you're wearing a talis. If I were to orchestra, I would say first put on the tefillin. This way the talis doesn't fall off when you're putting on the tefillin. This way it doesn't get in your arm. And then after you have the tefillin, then put on the talis. What kind of hachana is talis for tefillin? You want hachana? Eat breakfast. That's a good hachana.
Go to the mikveh.
Go to the mikveh. Says the Shas Teshuvas Har Tzvi, or Tzvi Pesach Frank, let me explain to you what the Bir Halacha means. Says something very interesting, very geschmack. It's beautiful. There are two kinds of mitzvahs. One kind of mitzvah is, let's say you want to know, you have two karbanos to bring. Should I bring kachei kadashim, or should I bring kachim kalim? So which carbon do we bring first? Kachei kadashim. Why? Because kol ha-mekudesh mechaveroi koydem mechaver. Or now I have a shaila. Should I shake my lulav and esrig, or should I put on my talis? So now we kadan. Which one has more kedusha? The answer is, it's a swap. Pick 'em. Well, you don't know which team to bet on. It's a pick 'em, right? So we don't know. Those are all mitzvahs that you do the mitzvah. You go out and you put on the talis, you take the daled minim. You are external to the chetza shel mitzvah. The chetza shel mitzvah is this. You are merely the one who's taking the chetza shel mitzvah and doing the mitzvah with it. But there are two mitzvahs in the Torah where you don't take the chetza shel mitzvah and do something with it. You become part of the chetza shel mitzvah. What does that mean? When you take a lulav and esrog, the chetza shel mitzvah is the lulav and esrog, and that's it. Your hands are merely the vehicle which shakes the lulav and esrog. But when you put on the talis, yes, the chetza shel mitzvah, the article of the mitzvah is the talis, but you are covered with the talis. So in a certain vein, you are part of the item of the mitzvah.
Like a sukkah.
So he's going to say, in the sukkah, you just happen to be in the sukkah. But here, by a talis, you're enveloped in the talis, you and the talis become like one entity. So you say, who cares? Well, very nice. It's one nice philosophy. What does that have to do with it? Then, when you put on the tefillin, you are tied to the tefillin. It's not just, here's the chetza shel mitzvah, and I just happen to be the body that sticks its arm through it. You become part of the chetza shel mitzvah. So says the Gra, says the Chavetz Chaim, they're answering the Shagas Aryeh's question. Why? Because the Shagas Aryeh said the following rule: that when do you apply the rule of Malam B'Kodesh to Eimaridin? Within the mitzvah of Halakas Ner Menorah, it's one item, it's one menorah, you go up. Within the Tefillin Shel Yad, you could make it to Ansharosh, you can't go down. But if you have two separate items, then you always pick the holier one first. So the Shagas Aryeh asks, so then talis and tefillin, do the tefillin before the talis. Yeah. Says the Gra, you're looking at it wrong. Don't look at a talis, and don't look at a tefillin, and now you want to know which article do you take first. Look at the Adam. The Adam becomes the Chetza Shel Mitzvah. How many people is he? One. He's one guy. He is becoming one Chetza Shel Mitzvah. Within this one person, should we bring him up or should we bring him down? He's only one thing. He's one Chefetz. You have to bring him up. Every other mitzvah in the Torah, he is merely the person doing the mitzvah. So now we want to know, should he do A or B? So then we say, if A has more kedusha, he should do A. But talis and tefillin, it's not a choice between two mitzvahs. He's the mitzvah. He's the item of the mitzvah. Now we want to know, should we bring him up or should we bring him down?
How does he get there? How does he get there? By doing a ma'aseh.
Okay, but the focus has to be on the Adam. Yeah. What? So on the Adam.
Right now, before the talis, he's
nothing. So now we want to know, should we make this Adam going up?
Elevate
or should we make the Adam going down? Normally, the focus is not on the Adam. Because the Adam has to choose which act he's going to do. The talis and tefillin are not just an act. Because he's enveloped in the talis and he's enveloped in the tefillin.
So why don't we say we should put on the tefillin first? We should elevate him first.
No, elevate means going up. First the talis and then the tefillin. Because other mitzvahs are just mitzvahs that you do. Talis and tefillin, you become part of it. So now the focus is not on the mitzvahs, the focus is on the person himself.
Fine. So then when you're taking them off, you shouldn't start from the highest going down. You should go from the lowest going up. You take the talis off first, then the sholyat, and then the shol.
No, the opposite. If you
the shol is the highest.
If you're taking away the Adam from the kedusha, from the chetzer shel mitzvah, you take him first the higher part.
How did you put them on? You went up.
Because I became the chetzer shel mitzvah. Now I'm becoming minus the chetzer shel mitzvah. I'm becoming I'm excluding myself from the chetzer shel mitzvah.
So you leave the holiest, the highest, to the last to be removed.
What's the reason why you first take off the tefillin and then the talis?
I think we asked you first.
So it's a separate share. Why, when we're taking off, right? We're talking about starting mitzvahs here.
Okay.
The way the removal of mitzvahs is different guidelines. Different guidelines.
What about if you put on talis cotton and you say on mitzvah tzitzis, have you enveloped yourself? Have you enveloped yourself yet?
No.
Why is it that when you
There's no atifa on the talis cotton.
I know, but the book doesn't put on the talis. So he's putting on film on another.
But he doesn't become the chetzer shel mitzvah.
He is a Udon,
but he's not surrounded. He's not enveloped in the chetzer shel mitzvah. It's just on top.
In other words, when you have a choice between two karbanos, would anyone say, yeah, since I'm offering the carbon, I become part of the carbon? You don't do with the carbon. You're just bringing it. The animal's the carbon. The animal's the chetzer shel mitzvah. Now you want to know which ma'isa should you do first? The Mekudesh Ma'isa, you do the Mekudesh Ma'isa first. But talis and tefillin is different. It's not just an act that you do. It is done to you. The act is done to you. Lulav is not done to you. Lulav, you do it. Talis and tefillin, it's done to you. It's something that is affected on you. It's chal on you. So now we want to know, should this Adam be going up or going down? So you say, is he one person or two? So if he has two heads, right? If he's a two-headed guy, so then we know we can clear. But if he's one Adam, so then we have to apply the rule of Shagas Aryeh. Within one Inyan, you always are Malin B'Kedusha.
So putting on the talis cotton doesn't affect you being enveloped.
Maybe it does. What is
because a person who's bar mitzvah, but does not get married, so he doesn't have a talis to put on.
Okay.
So when he puts on the tzitzis, so should we tell him to put on the tefillin first and then put on the tzitzis?
No, why should we do that?
Because Malam B'Kodesh Shalom are reading.
No, because
we do.
Kalam Mekudesh B'Yosef.
No, we do. Right, we do. Look at number 9. V'hinei kol ma'ayin b'kushas ha'shagasari v'hadagim ravav v'yira. Anyone who looks at the question of the shagasari and the dagim ravav will see. The ikar hakusha hi. Their main question is the keitzad kasav ha'shulchan aruch tam lahakdam ha'tzitzis u'tefillin. How could the Shulchan Aruch write that you put on the tzitzis for tefillin, the humishan deman b'kodesh, because of Ma'alin, habe mishnah de zachem ibchatanan. We learned the opposite in Dvachim, the kol ha'makudesh mechaver, koydem es chaver. V'im kein loy muvan divrei bir halacha. I cannot fathom what the bir halacha is saying, sha'asa hakusha atzmo l'teretz. It's like he's answering the question, he's making the question an answer. He's saying, you know why you put on the talis first? Because the talis is less than the tefillin. That's the problem. That's the question. If the talis is less than the tefillin, you should put on the tefillin first. So look carefully. Aval acharei ho'iyun. But after further analysis, divrei bir halacha tzadku ma'od. The bir halacha is absolutely correct. The davar gadol diber. And he's speaking very good. The yeshnei sugei mitzvahs. There are two types of mitzvahs. Yesh mitzvah shehi loy nasis al guf ha'adam. Certain mitzvahs are not done on the body of the person. Ha mitzvah yirak pu'ula masis. It's an external action. Ukshem is damin lo lasa shtei pu'ulas. when two actions come your way, that each one is an act, one after the other, not at the same time. So what rule do we say? So whenever you have two actions and you want to know which one to do first, the holier one. But when the mitzvah is done to your body, that the body is clothed with it, and then you have to wear both of them at the same time. On that we say Malam B'Kodesh. That is what the Bir Halacha means when he says Malam B'Kodesh al ha'adam kai. It's going on the person. Perush, the mitzvah anasis aguf ha'adam, a mitzvah that is done on the body of a person. That not that he has to do two acts, he has to sanctify himself with these two sanctities, and be enveloped in both. Ha'adam tzarch leilech midarga ledarga. A person has to go from level to level, and rise up with the sanctity of his body. At first he merely cloaks himself in a covering of a mitzvah, and through the tefillin, he ties himself with this kesher of kedusha. This is the clear meaning of the Bir Halacha. He was just being very concise. So this is a very important Bir Halacha, to understand that the reason why we bring in Malam B'Kodesh and reason by Talis and Tefillin is because Talis and Tefillin is different than every other mitzvah. Talis and Tefillin are not mitzvahs you do. Talis and Tefillin are mitzvahs that are done to you. So if they're done to you now, the vantage point now is not which one first, A or B. We don't look at the A and B. We look at the person. Should the person going up or the person going down? Says Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank. You once heard that during one of the wars in Eretz Yisrael, he was hiding in some attic, and all he had was paper and a pencil, and he wrote an entire sefer just in the attic with his pencil and his paper. And when the pencil had zzz, that's when the sefer was over.
Who was that?
Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank, the Nahar Tzvi. He says, "Amayata divrei belo." Yeah, he says, "V'chein derech avodas ha'adam." This is the way of a person in the service of Hashem. Shehu atzmai tzarach leilech mimata lamala. You always have to go up. Liyos tamin oila b'malos v'avodas ha'varis varach shemai. Always to rising up in the levels of serving Hashem. Umayata divrei bir halachim medukdakim ha'oid shemakdim ma'am b'kodesh al adam kai. He says it's going on the person. Va'adam tzarach la'agvias atzmai mata lamala. We've answered the Shagas Aryeh's question. We've answered the Ned B'Hida's question. They want to invoke Mekudash Mechaveroi because they're looking at the two actions. Says the Gra, in this instance, don't look at the two actions, look at the person. The Seder Avodas Ha'adam Atzmai, the order, the arrangement of a person is Liyos, Oila Tamid, to go up constantly, B'Malois Avodas HaKodesh, in the levels of Avodas Hashem Ulahaschel, to begin Bisarusa de Lasata, by inspiring himself down here, Kedei Lezakos, Bisarusa de Leila, in order to merit the Hisairus, the arousal from Shamayim. Okay, very interesting sugya of Ma'am Kodesh. I'll just tell you one quick vart on the Parsha before we end over here. In the beginning of the Parsha, it says like this. It says, you will serve over there other gods. Eitzva even, wood and stone. Asher lo yirun, they can't see. V'lo yishmael, they can't hear. V'lo yoichlon, they can't eat. V'lo yirichon, they can't smell. Right? It says in the Parsha, you're going to go, you're going to serve other gods. They can't see, they can't hear, they can't eat, they can't smell. Asked the Vilna Gaon that the pasuk left out the most important thing. You're not going to miss the Haisafa.
The sweet. Oh,
you're going to miss the Haisafa. It should say, Elohim. Well, it should say they can't talk. Why did we leave out? They can't talk. That's the first thing David HaMelech says. Elohim lo yidaberu. So why does it say Asher lo Yirun lo Yishmon lo Yachlon Richon? It should say lo yidaberu. Says the Gra, the Zohar HaKadosh tells us the following: that in the times of Nebuchadnezzar's Tzelem, So everyone had to bow, the tzelem of Nebuchadnezzar, everyone had to bow down to the tzelem, everyone had to kiss the tzelem. And Daniel comes to Nebuchadnezzar and he says, Nebuchadnezzar, to kiss the tzelem, listen to this kasha, to kiss the tzelem, I don't want to just give it a regular shmek. I want to kiss it on its mouth. So Daniel climbs up to the mouth of the tzelem. And this tzelem was not an ordinary tzelem. This tzelem spoke. Because Nebuchadnezzar put the tzitz in the mouth of the tzelem. And the tzelem would come over. Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Yid. I'm your new Avodah Zarah. Give me a shmek. Yeah? The Avodah Zarah would talk to you and seduce you to
Tits?
the tzitz. Yes, the tzitz. Look in the ground. And Daniel comes up, he climbs up to the tzelem, he pulls out the tzitz. All of a sudden the tzelem keels over. Right? It keels over, it smashes, and everyone realizes that the tzelem was nothing. Says the Gra. We're talking about at the end of Bayis Rishon, right? V'noi shantem ba'aretz. Right? If once you're in Eretz Yisrael, Kiminyan v'noi shantem, that's it, you're gone. Right? That's it, you're gone. They were in Eretz Yisrael, what? 850 years. Had they been there 852, they would have been exiled. So they go to Bavel. You're going to serve in Bavel other gods. Asher lo yiron, they can't see. V'lo yishma, they can't hear. V'lo yochlan, they can't eat. V'lo yiru, they can't smell. But they could talk. That Avodah Zarah could talk. Uvikashtem nishamas Hashem lekecha. But Daniel is going to search for the name of God that's written on the tzitz. Umatzasa, and he's going to find it. Kisir Hashem b'chal v'avchonas. Fine. I don't understand what the Gemara is talking about. Because if you look in the Gemara, in the Masechta Sanhedrin, that we learned when we were learning Sefer Daniel, the Gemara says, "But Daniel heichan haya." Where was Daniel at the time of the tzelem? Do you remember where he was? He went to get pigs from Egypt, or he went to dig a river. The Gemara says he was not there. So I'm not sure what the Gra is bringing in from the Zayar. The Gemara says Daniel wasn't even there. I'll let you think about it over the Cholent. Have a good Shabbat.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.